Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to create this volume trend using the SiteAudit Analyzer. Using this trend you can show the volumes for various page counts. In this case we're looking at black and white, color, duplex, and total volumes for various months. We can also filter by department, by manufacturer, the device type, multifunction or single function to show volumes for specific things that we want to see. So for example, we can use a department filter and we can look at data for a specific department. So you can see here in our Detroit department, we've printed this volume. Okay. So in order to do this, you're going to need to have SiteAudit and a license for the Analyzer Designer. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm using Excel 2013. You can also use Excel 2010. Everything that I'm doing in this demonstration you can also do in 2010. When you open Excel for the first time, you'll notice that there's a Site Audit tab. This is the Site Audit Analyzer. And by default, we have the server and database selected already. And this is the same server and database that your Site Audit viewer is pointed to. So let me show you what I mean. This is a Site Audit viewer. If I go to Setup and Database, you can see I'm pointed to a server named Relish and a database called One Medium Company, and that's the same server and database we're pointed to here. So this is the database from which the analyzer is going to pull data so that we can create our trend. So we're going to start by going to the views and selecting volumes, and then we're going to choose a trend size. In this case, basically what this does is pulls data from the database in chunks, and what we want to do is show a monthly trend. So we're going to get data in chunks of months, and what this is going to do is going to pull the volume data for every printer month by month. Okay, and that's what's going to allow us to build this trend. This time span is similar to what you would see in the Site Audit viewer, and we're going to get the entire amount of data that has been collected in this particular database. So this is a new worksheet. We'll just select the cell that we want. By default, it'll select the first cell, and that's where we want it to go. So let's just insert the table. Okay, so we've finished pulling in the data. One thing you should notice here is there's a from and to date. So this is going to be the months of data that we collect. If you notice, it goes from 3/26 to 3/31. That's the month of March, and that's because this particular data collection, we started it on March 26th and ended on October 1st. So if we scroll down, we'll see that we have data from 4/1 through 4/30, 5/1 to 5/31, that's May, June, July, etc. Okay, and if you scroll across, you can see the different types of information that was extracted from the Site Audit database. So we have the various volumes for all these different counts. Okay, and using this column chooser or departments, you can filter or show more columns or less columns. We're just going to leave the defaults for this example. All right, so let's create the Excel pivot table. We'll start by selecting anywhere on the table, going to Insert, and choosing Pivot Table. All right, and it asks you where you want to store this report, and we're going to use a default in a new worksheet. So here's our pivot table, and these are all the fields from our table. Okay, and what I like to do is I like to start building my pivot table with my filters. So I'm going to want to filter the data by department, so I'll grab this and drag it down to my filter section. I'm going to filter by manufacturer, retired status, managed status, device type, and is network. So what that one does is it allows us to either show local printers, network printers, or both. So that's a nice filter to have as well. Okay, so now we're ready to build the data. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select this 2. If you notice, it put it right down in the row. We could have drug it there as well, or dragged it there. And we'll see here that it has each of the months, and those are the months and times that we see here. Okay, so this is our to date. All right, now it'd be nice to see this in a different format, so let's just right click here, select group, months, and now we see it in an abbreviated month. Okay, so let's start adding the counters that we want to see for our trend. I'm going to pull in the black and white all, color all, duplex, and the total count. Okay. Now, if you notice here, by default, it's just doing a count of each of the instances that it's found of a black and white all and color all and etc. And what we want is we actually want a sum of the volume. So what we're going to need to do is change these by selecting this drop-down arrow, going to value field settings, and selecting sum. And when I select this, you'll notice the custom name changes as well. And this is what's displayed as a column header. Okay, so I like to rename this to BW pages. Okay, and here's our volumes. Now the numbers aren't formatted as we might like, but what we can do is we can come back into here, go to value field settings, and go to the number format. We'll select number, use a separator, and no decimal places. Okay, so that's much nicer the way it looks. So let's do the same thing for these other three columns. We'll start with color all, go to the value field settings, select sum, change the name to color pages, and then format the number. Okay, and we'll do the same thing with duplex. Now, one thing I want to show you is you'll want to select the summary here before you change the name, because if we change this name and then we select something else, it automatically changes it for you. So first select it, then change the name. Okay, and then we can set the number format. And finally, let's do this to the total count. Select sum, total pages, and format the number. Okay, and we're done. We have the information that we need for our pivot table. So we can go ahead and close the pivot table fields just by clicking the X here. If we ever want to see that again, maybe we want to add the large counts or facts or some other counts there, we can always go to this Analyze tab, select the Field List button, and it brings it back up. Okay, so here's our table, and one of the things I like to do to a pivot table when I first create it is set the column widths the way that you want them, and then right click on the pivot table and go to pivot table options, and here you can give your pivot table a name. I'm going to call it volumes, and I'm going to uncheck this auto fit column widths on update, and what this will do is it'll fix the column widths to whatever size I set them, and it won't dynamically change them based on the data. You may want it to dynamically change, but I'm going to just leave them static. Alright, so this is our data. We can see for each month how many black and white pages we printed, how many color, how much duplex in the total, and then there's a sum down at the bottom, an aggregate of all of these. If you notice, in March and October, the values are much lower. And the reason for that is that we had only collected data from March 26th to the end of March, so it's only a few days, and then on one day in October. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter this just to show the full months of data collection, so April through September. And we can do this by dropping down this arrow. Let's unselect these and then choose April, May, June, July, August, and September. Again, you can choose whichever months you want to display, and then here's our values. Okay, so this is great. And we can even do some filtering now. So we can come up here and say, I only want to see the data for my Detroit department. Okay, so we can see the volumes that occurred in Detroit over each month. We can choose a manufacturer. Maybe we only want to see Canon, or maybe we want to see multiple Canon, HP, and I don't know, maybe Lexmark volumes. We can select that. Okay, we can even do something like choose a device type. Say we only want to see for multifunction. Okay, and these are the volumes for the multifunction Canon, Lexmark, and HP devices that are in the Detroit department. Now, one of the nice things about Excel pivot tables is you can double click on any row, and what it's going to do is it's going to drill down and it's going to pull the data for this particular period. So for example, let's double click here, and it creates a new sheet. As you can see, this is a month of June. It shows all the multifunction devices that are either Hewlett-Packard, Canon, or Lexmark, and then it shows you all the volumes that have been collected for each individual device that matches that criteria. Okay, so it's a nice way to drill down and see more information. Okay, so this is all good and well, but let's create a chart. A chart is much more visual. People can take a look at it and they can look at the trend and see how things are going. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to reset my filters, put them back to the defaults. Okay, and to create a chart, you can just select anywhere in your pivot table, go to Insert, and then insert a chart. There's recommended charts, line charts, bar charts, however you choose. I'm just going to choose a line chart, and I'm going to do the line with markers. And here's my chart. Okay, so there's I don't like the way this looks. What I can do is I can come up here to the design. There's a quick layout here, and what I like about 2013 is you hover over it and it changes the way your chart looks, so you can see what it's going to look like before you do anything. So I kind of like this one. All right, you can even choose styles, a different style if you like the way it, one of these look. All right, if you like it dark colored. So I'm just going to leave this one, and what I do is I remove all these buttons. Okay, so I'm going to right click on here and say remove all the field buttons. That gives us more space. And now I'm going to customize my chart, get rid of that axis title on the left, add a chart title. We can add data labels so you can see what the counts are, without having to guess from the trend. I'm gonna use a data table down here at the bottom, and I'm also going to move my legend down to the bottom. Okay, so we have the legend down here. Each of these colors corresponds to one of our lines. So these are the black and white pages. As you can see, as we hover over it, it says it's black and white pages. In May, there's 705,000. Okay, let's change our chart title, and I'm going to call this volume trend. And there we have it. This is our volume trend. You can take a look and see how you're doing in your environment month by month, how much is being printed for each of these counter types. What's really nice about seeing this in a trend is perhaps you had set some goals for yourself, like you wanted to increase the number of duplex pages, or you wanted to decrease the amount of color printing in your environment. Or maybe there's a bunch of local printers and you wanted to move and start printing on network printers because it's cheaper. So what we can do is we can actually filter. Let's filter and show only network printers. Okay, so this is a volume for network printers. It looks pretty much the same. Let's look at it for local printers. Now this is a pretty telling trend here, because we started out our collection in April printing about 50,000 pages. Okay, so there's about 50,000 total pages here, we can see, but over time you can see that we've dropped and we've started using those local printers less and less. So that's probably providing huge savings to the customer because it's very expensive to replace toners and stuff on these local printers, a lot of local printers. So that's pretty nice. You could also do things, let's move this back. Again, we can filter by manufacturer, maybe only show me the Canon volumes for my environment. Now this is the entire environment, how much printing we've done month by month for Canon devices. Okay. We can add other manufacturers, maybe have another graph that just shows the HP. Okay, this is very interesting for HP. We can see here that they're printing about as much color on HP as they are on black and white pages. Okay, and in some cases there's more color. In the month of August we're printing more color. The month of April we're printing more color than we are black and white. And none of these are duplexed, or very little. You can see the volume here is very little for duplexing. So this is interesting. Maybe you want to have more efficient color printing devices here or whatever. So anyway, this is how you create a volume trend using the SiteAudit Analyzer. I hope this has helped you. It might give you some ideas on how to create other trends for things such as how many times consumables were replaced per month in your environment, or how many times jams have been occurring in your environment. Okay, so good luck and thank you for watching.